Hi there. We are on day 212 of our Through the New Testament in 1 Year. Today we're doing Acts 3. I'll jump over there. And remember, he wrote the book of Romans from Corinth. He had never been to Rome when he wrote the book to the Romans, but it was the largest city and the most powerful at the time, so everybody knew about Rome and all the people there. Nero was the emperor, just taken over a few years prior at the age of 16. And can you imagine a 16-year-old spoiled rotten from birth, okay, given everything he wants, being given control of the most powerful empire on the earth? I can't imagine. Later on, Rome would burn and Nero would do nothing, but he blamed the Christians and used them as a scapegoat, and that's what would be some of the most horrible massacres of Christians ever recorded, right? But now that hasn't started yet. And he was talking yesterday about circumcision and how the Jews, which were, I have to say it, they were very racist people, okay? They were the blessed ones, they were the holy ones, they were the chosen ones, and everybody else was dogs. And they would use the laws of Moses and stuff against everybody else. And they were saying, well, they are not circumcised, so they cannot follow God, okay? And Paul was making the argument that you guys act worse. They act moral, right? They have an end set of laws that makes them moral, right? Even though they don't have Moses' law, they follow a moral law, which makes them more circumcised than you guys who don't follow your own moral law, okay? Talking to the Jews, of course. So, after talking about that, he continues, okay? And there's some very famous memory verses in Romans 3, too. So, then what advantage has the Jew, or what is the benefit of circumcision, right? Great in every respect. First of all, that they were entrusted with the oracles of God. That's the Jew. What then, if some did not believe if some did not believe, their unbelief will not nullify the faithfulness of God, will it? Right? May it never be. Rather, let God be found true, though every man be found a liar, as it is written. It's probably in Isaiah somewhere, right? That you may be entrusted in your words and prevail when you are judged. Right? But if your unrighteousness demonstrates the righteousness of God, what shall we say? The God who inflicts wrath is not unrighteous, is he? I'm speaking in human terms. Right? May it never be. For otherwise, how will God judge the world? But if through my lie the truth of God abounded to his glory, why am I also still being judged as a sinner? And why not say, as we are slanderously reported, and as some claim that we say, let us do evil that good may come. Their condemnation is just. Right? A lot of sarcasm here, right? Let's read that again. That was kind of confusing, right? Okay. What advantage of the Jew, or what benefit is he of circumcision? Great in every respect. First of all, that they were entrusted with the oracles of God. What then? If some did not believe, their unbelief will not nullify the faithfulness of God, will it? May it never be. Rather, let God be found true, though every man be found a liar, as it is written, right? But if our unrighteousness demonstrates the righteousness of God, what shall we say? Unrighteousness. The God who inflicts wrath is not unrighteous, is he? The God who inflicts wrath is not unrighteous, is he? I'm speaking in human terms. May it never be. For otherwise, how will God judge the world? But if through my lie the truth of God abounded to its glory, why am I also still being judged as a sinner? So they're being unrighteous, and God is still God, right? If he is being unrighteous, why is he still being judged as a sinner? And why not say, as we are slanderously reported, as some claim that we say, let us do evil that good may come. Their condemnation is just. Slanderously say. Right. They look down on Christians as evil people, right? They killed Jesus Christ, so that guilt is on them. What then? Are we better than they? Not at all. For we have already charged that both Jews and Greeks are all under sin. Right? As it is written, there is none righteous, not even one. There is none who understands. There is none who seeks for God. All have turned, now this is 3:12, okay? All have turned aside together and have become useless. There is none who does good. There is not even one. You know what? This is a wrong Bible. We were using the English Standard Version. We don't want to get confused, okay? Okay. Shall we start again or just pick up where we were? Okay. What advantage of the Jew? Much in every way to begin with the Jews for entrusted oracles of God. What if some are unfaithful? Does their faithfulness nullify the faithfulness of God? By no means. Let God be true, though every one were a liar, as it is written, though you may be justified in your words and prevail in your judgment. But if your unrighteousness serves to show the righteousness of God, what shall we say? The God is unrighteous to inflict wrath on us? I speak in a human way. By no means. For then how could God judge the world? Right. God will never be unrighteous, right? But if through my lie God's truths abound to his glory, why am I still being condemned as a sinner? And why not do evil that good may come, as some people slanderously charge us with saying? Lying, right? Their condemnation is just. Okay. We wrote 9. What then? Are we Jews any better off? No, not at all. For we have already charged that all, both Jews and Greeks, are under sin. As it is written, none is righteous, no, not one. Okay? That's a memory verse. No one is righteous. Okay? You can use that when you're leading people to Christ. What does it say in Romans 3:10? No one is righteous, not even one person. Okay? No one understands, no one seeks for God. All have turned aside together and become worthless. No one does good, not even one. Right? The throat is an open grave. They use their tongues to deceive. The venom of asps is under their lips. Their mouth is full of curses and bitterness. They are swift to shed blood. In their paths are ruin and misery, and the way of peace they have not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes. No one is righteous. 19. Now that we know that whatever the law says, it speaks to those who are under the law, so that every mouth may be stopped, and the whole world may be held accountable to God. For by works of the law, no human being will be justified in his sight, since through the law comes knowledge of sin. Right? For by works of the law, no human being will be justified in his sight. And one of his arguments is that the Greeks, the Gentiles, were not under the law. They didn't have the law. They didn't know the law. Okay? But some of them were already morally just, which he said counted as circumcision. Okay, the righteousness of God through faith. But now the righteousness of God has been manifested apart from the law. Although the law and the prophets bear witness to it, the righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ for all who believe, for there is no distinction. Right? 3:23, there you go. For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Okay? 3:23 is a very famous memory. For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. All right? And are justified by his grace as a gift. A gift, something you can't buy, right? Something you can't earn, it's a gift. Through the redemption that is Christ Jesus, whom God put forward as a propitiation by his blood to be received by faith. This was to show God's righteousness, because in his divine forbearance he had passed over former sins. It was to show his righteousness at the present time, so that he might be just and the justifier of the one who has faith in Jesus. All right. Then what becomes of our boasting? It is excluded. By what kind of law? By the law of works? No, but by the law of faith. For we hold that one is justified by faith apart from works of the law. Right? We hold that one is justified by faith apart from works of the law. Or is God the God of Jews only? Is he not the God of the Gentiles also? Yes, of Gentiles also. Since God is one, who will justify the circumcised by faith and the uncircumcised through faith. Do we then overthrow the law by this faith? By no means. On the contrary, we uphold the law. Right? Circumcised by faith, uncircumcised through faith. Right? It's all about faith. Jesus talked about faith a lot of times, and people don't have it. And even a Roman, Gentile, right? A guard, right? Man who was in charge of many men, a commander, came to Jesus and said, heal my dying son. Jesus said, I will come and heal your son. He says, you don't need to come. I command many men. If I say do, they do. If I say go, they go. If I say come, they come. Your word will be enough. And Jesus said, I have never found faith in anywhere on earth as the faith of this Roman soldier, not a Jew. So faith is very important. So there you go. That's Romans 3. We're getting really into his conversation now, right? Okay. And he will say, Abraham is justified by faith. Abraham wasn't circumcised, okay? He performed the first circumcision. That must have been interesting, huh? So we'll read about that tomorrow. So there you go. That's Romans 3, okay? These videos are a little longer because, okay, we're really getting into the meat of things. So this is good stuff, a lot of teaching stuff here, okay? So there you have it. Catch up on any man miss. We're just starting, so you can go back to Romans, go back 3 days and catch up with us, all right? Or you can just read Romans and join us. So give us a like if you think about it, and we'll continue tomorrow. See you then.